All right, excellent. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order. And just a reminder, we are live and this meeting will be recorded for future viewing. So we'll go ahead with roll call. Kyle?
Rice?
Yes.
Longstreet?
Here.
McCaffrey? Here. Belknap? Bush? Greenlee?
Here.
Hill?
Here.
Allison?
Here.
Jim?
Here.
Seth?
Here.
All right, thank you. Let's see, we have a couple of additions to the agenda. And you should all have both of these sheets, the additions, as well as the topics that were emailed out. So we'll go ahead and put the marina rate increase as item 11A under new business. And then the Kirk Park budget item, we will put under 11B under new business. And hopefully, if you don't have the supporting information in front of you, the two blue sheets, please just let Kyle know and she'll get you one. All right, I don't think there's any other additions or deletions, so we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the July 24th regular meeting of the Parks Commission. Does anyone like to make a motion to approve those?
Support.
Okay, thanks, Lucas and Jane. Any comments, edits, questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, minutes are approved. We do not have any communications this month, so it will take us to our first public comment period. Did anyone in the audience like to make public comment at this time? All right, we'll keep moving. Those of you online, if you would like to make written public comment at any point in time during the month that we can review as a Parks Commission, feel free to do so. There should be contact information under the event description on the YouTube channel. So, all right, then we'll just keep rolling with the staff reports and start with the director's report. Jason.
Excellent. So this Parks Commission meeting really crept up on me. I took off the week after the last meeting and I got back and it was already packet week. So but there are a few notes that I would make. So one of them being the interpretive plan for the Grand River Greenway in conjunction with Kent County. So we've been working with Kent County staff, their purchasing division. We've had our attorneys and corporation counsel review the agreements on to send those out for an RFP. Jessica's taking lead on that project as an interpretive project, so we'll move that one over underneath community engagement moving forward for her to report on. I did include, I believe, as a draft, the scope of the project and in the report. So, and the J.H. Campbell decommissioning, we did complete a preliminary natural features inventory to provide to the township and their consultants doing their resiliency planning. It's not the final plan, but it was a preliminary plan to help them with their work doing the resiliency planning. And then we also had a productive meeting with some DNR staff about the site, the boat launch, and the future of the site once it's decommissioned. So keep working away at it. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Please. In the RFP, the draft RFP, right? Is that it talks about a trail from Lowell all the way out, into Ottawa County. So in that the trail section from Lowell to Grand Rapids, that's the only missing piece. Is that an accurate statement to recall?
There are a number of missing pieces in King County.
Oh, are there? Okay.
Yes.
Park's complete, so they're doing some of what where we took some existing trail like in Grand Union Township along the Creek Drive. They're creating a route like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's gonna follow the river and use some existing trail like Riverside Park.
Oh, sure.
and
Yep.
White Pine Trail. And then, yeah, fill gaps.
And doesn't
don't-
there? I'm
And
sorry.
there was a plan that was developed, downtown Grand Rapids Inc. pulled together our information along with Kent County's. We'll share that in the next packet if we haven't done that before. So, and it shows the various linkages.
And I
Nice.
think it stops at Lowell, but technically, symbol on, you work to connect it to our trails, the Grand River Valley Trail that goes on that mile.
Right.
So you go even further along the river.
It doesn't it go all the way through to St. John's and
Yeah, that's
To-
off the Grand River though.
it's off the Grand River, but it basically goes across the state,
Hey, right.
Yeah, it's the CIS.
the CIS trail. Yeah. So in theory, this will connect. I mean, I don't know, it'll make its way all the way to Detroit eventually or not, but it's piecing together to be a cross-state trail, which would be really cool.
Mhm.
So.
Anything else? What are we kicking in for the interpretive plan? I can't, or is it up
I think,
for?
well, no, I think we included 50,000 in our budget.
Okay, that's what I remembered,
So
but wasn't sure. Okay,
an estimate for the project.
all right, we'll keep moving on. Well, should we come, I guess we'll circle back to the park operations report.
Yes,
'cause
and he's
Jason
just
Berger might be
run a
little
couple
bit
minutes late. He'll be here in a
Yeah,
minute.
okay, great. Let's just circle back to that. The planning and development report. Kurt?
All right, just a couple things to add to the written report. One is the resurfacing at Grand River Park actually happened yesterday and today. So that's great because we have a reservation on Saturday. So the park has been closed for a couple days and it needs to kind of cure and cool down, but it'll be ready for Saturday. And then Monday morning, we get it restriped. So it should be great for that. There's quite a bit about Ottawa Sands, but we're really gearing up. I didn't see anything more in the packet about our plans for that. Was it in there? So they're planning on a dedication in October.
Yes, I don't know if we included the actual date. We're going
Okay.
to speak with some of our
Oh, okay.
preliminary, save the date. I think with some of our funders, we're going to talk to tomorrow and confirm that
Okay.
our plans.
Okay, good. So Jason would say there's a ton of work being done by operations and us to get ready for October, which will be the dedication of, for sure, all the day use, all the lake stuff. The camp won't be open yet, but it should be very close to being done. But all of the every microwave and refrigerator and grill and everything they're working on. And so
We won't dedicate the campground until next spring.
right.
We feel like we're,
But the main day use stuff, which is a lot of them, the grants we've received have been for that. That is gearing up for October. So sometime early to mid-October is when we're shooting for that. The Stearns Bayou Bridge is still closed. I've got a meeting on Thursday, hopefully, to get some real answers about when it could be open, because people call me every other day about wondering when the trail is going to be, not the trail, but the bridge will be back open. So I'm hoping I get some good answers that day. If you go out there, they're always working, but it's going very, very slowly. So anyway, otherwise happy to answer any questions people have on projects.
Kurt, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna ask sorry, the photos that are in the packet, those are of that bridge then?
Yes,
Okay.
those are the bridge.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I have a
Oh, yeah,
quick
go ahead,
question.
Jen.
So the paving of the bike path there on Green Street, are we waiting for the bridge to be finished before we actually?
Well, that's one of the
do
things we are not
that?
happy about, is there's really no reason they can't be working on the trail at the
Yeah.
same time. And they are, but it's just very, very
Okay.
slow.
So you'll probably get some clarification on Thursday on.
That's what
that.
I'm hoping, because it's
Okay.
been hard to get a straight answer
Okay.
recently. Yeah. And I feel kind of bad. I will say this because I'm kind of managing it for the county, but in a lot of ways, it's really out of my control because
Right.
it's the engineer, it's the road commission, it's MDOT are really handling all the contract stuff. So I'm just kind of watching, and if there's questions, I answer, but there really haven't been any
Yeah.
for me. So it's been a little frustrating that way as well.
Good. Anything else? All right, thanks, Kurt. Jason, are you ready to take, or do you want another minute? Well, we can keep going with community engagement and
it's-
circle back with you.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I don't have anything overly pressing that I really wanted to add, other than I just wanted to highlight that Bob Shannon, who was a maintenance worker for us for 10 years, retired this past month, and the 2 pictures I put in there of the boardwalk, that was his last project. He was very proud of that, so I wanted to put that in your report
Yeah.
for you guys. We are interviewing for his replacement. We've done a couple already. We have a few more coming. But other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Go ahead, Allison.
Just a real, probably simple one. You had mentioned about grip tape being put on bridges. Is that something that we are looking to do at other bridges since we did it at this one, or do we wait till an injury takes place? Like, I'm just wondering a little bit
It's
more.
something we've never done before, actually. So we talked about this one quite a bit to try to figure out, whether we wanted to do it here, why we would want to do it. The unique situation with this bridge is it's one of the only bridges we have in the county that has a turn while you're on the bridge.
Mhm.
Most bridges, once you're on the bridge, you're going straight. You're not making a turn on the wood. And so we felt that that was a unique enough situation that it might warrant it. Initially, we wanted to just go in there and maybe pressure wash it, because usually the reason bridges are slippery is because they have moss on them.
Mhm.
We were out there and really just couldn't find any moss to pressure wash off. It actually looked really nice when we were out there. So we just decided that since it was very unique and it had a turn, that we would just go ahead and put some grip tape on there and see if that just solves our issue. But it's not something we run into very often, because you rarely have to turn while you're on a bridge.
Right,
Right.
right. That makes sense. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we'll keep going with the community engagement report. Jess?
Right, well, we are just in back to school mode, getting ready to get really busy again, prepping for the fall. We are also narrowing down recreational wellness program lead candidates, which is exciting. That should help us build some capacity as far as rec programs go. And then, like everybody else, working on our end of things to get Ottawa back open. Some cool interpretive science. Actually, meant to mention this with the community engagement committee. We are partnering with a teacher in Jensen who offers like an in-school internships to some of our students to work on translation projects. And so projects that they can do is interpretive science, which is really cool. So otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions. Let me know.
I just had a super quick, what is the engagement outpost under the program and visitor numbers line? Is that a new addition to that
It's
table?
new- It's new-ish. We started it in the spring, so what we're doing is using kind of knowledge that we have and then also placer data to locate really busy areas within parks and certain times of year to catch as much traffic as possible. And then we kind of set up shop there and bring some just like marketing material, but then also stuff for people to do. So for instance, the bottom of the hill at Grand Ravines where you can see the
Mhm.
eagle's nest, we bring
Yeah.
out some binoculars and maybe a scope and hang out there, and it's.
Oh,
it's
I
really
see.
so
Okay, that's what that's,
accessible
yeah.
time, and we engage with folks that way. And what we hope eventually to do is recruit volunteers, maybe through friends, to kind of pick areas where we, again, just snow, we've got a lot of traffic and we can run to a lot of folks. So, top of Mount Pisgah, we'll probably do this at Ottawa Sands out on the Lake Loop. There's a few areas in Grand Ravines that are quite busy. Run that connector trail between Grand Ravines and Grand River Park. So it's just a really good way to take advantage of the traffic that's already there that we don't have to, try to get. Like there are folks
Yeah.
right from the park and we just want people that way.
Yeah, that's good. I know sometimes, like I went to a zoo one time, or you go and you're like, oh, I wonder what's going on there. And then there's somebody standing there. You're like, oh, there's somebody that can answer my questions or give me more information. So that's great.
Yeah, I want to plant someone permanently at Grand Ravines where there's all that skunk cabbage because when
Oh, yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
I spent like 20 minutes. And my kids would be like, oh my gosh, stop talking about skunk cabbage. It's really fun.
There you go, Neely. That's where that's the segue into you with your natural resources
Perfect. Thank you
management
for that,
report.
Jessica. Let's see, I don't really have much to add other than this month was our first service Saturday, public service Saturday. So transitioning into kind of branding our public work days that way. So every third Saturday of each month, we'll have usually NRM related work days led by Carly, for the most part, led by Carly, our volunteer program supervisor, sometimes Tyler and myself also. Like I said, mostly doing NRM related projects, a lot of invasive species removal, but we're hoping that just with that consistency of having it every third Saturday, that we'll have even more volunteers helping out. So if anyone's interested, we have a September workday coming up as well. So check our calendar for that. And of course, any Park Stewards workdays, everyone's welcome to join us at as well. And then I guess I can take any questions if anyone has any. And then we have Tyler, our stewardship supervisor, here today as well. So
Excellent.
yeah. So Tyler, you can take Joe's spot if you'd like. And don't forget about the microphone.
So
You get to
at
give us
one
a
of
little
our-
rundown on
One
what
of our
you've been
committee
doing all year?
meetings, a commissioner asked if we could try to
Mhm.
regularly invite staff. So Tyler, not that long ago, I guess it was probably the springtime, attended a fire training. So
Yeah,
reached out and asked.
sorry, I was about to say that.
Oh,
But
no.
no, go ahead.
So I reached out and just to ask as we were preparing for the meeting, if he could come and introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his training.
Excellent. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, so good to see you all again. Like Jason said, it was back in May. I spent 11 days down in the Kalamazoo Battle Creek area at, it was the first ever Southern Michigan training exchange, shortened to TREX. And the concept of a TREX, they're more popular out west and further fire activity, but it's basically a training program designed to bring together a diversity of backgrounds, so provides training opportunities and also gives opportunities for higher level trainees to advance their qualifications as well. And so in total, there were about 35 to 40 people, so 20 or so were participants, and then there were about 15 instructors. In total, actually, they added up all their fire experience, just the instructors, and it was over 400 years of experience within prescribed wildfire. So just a huge wealth of knowledge for all the participants to learn from. And so I've got some photos here to help show some of the things we did. We basically were put into live fire opportunities anytime the weather was favorable. So this is my module. The class was kind of split into two modules, and then we stayed within those groups for the whole time and basically traveled around Southern Michigan to do prescribed fires and other training opportunities. So.
And for anyone that's not super familiar with prescribed fires, just kind of traditionally, prescribed fires are often held in the springs, especially early spring. That's not always the case. We do try to burn at other times of the year too, but that's why this training was this spring. So.
Yep, and a lot of the the burns that we did, some of the land managers were actually in the training themselves. So we were kind of going around to those properties. A few were not, but offered their properties to burn. So this photo here, that's at Pure Cedar Creek Institute in Berry County. So it was kind of cool. We got to work under different burn bosses too, and they all had sort of a different style. So it was good to work under different types of supervision on the fire line too. So that was a valuable experience. You can go ahead and flip through to the next one. So that's one of the burns that we did. That was at Pure Cedar Creek. So we ranged anywhere from, had some 30-acre burns up to 200-acre grassland burn. And participants were put into a variety of roles. So anywhere from just running ignitions or running an engine. My favorite part, we were, for the qualification that I was working on, was put into a leadership role and then paired with an evaluator. So a former retired DNR fire officer, and they're kind of there on the fire line. It's more so like driver's training. They'll step in if something gets unsafe, but they're really hands off and just letting you direct and make decisions. And so that was a great learning opportunity. And I had a few burns where I was able to be put in charge of directing. On this one in particular, I had a few different engines that we were able to sort of direct around, and then a few teams with hand tools and drip torches and whatnot. So that was my first time personally being in charge of that many people and a lot of moving parts. And so that was a really rare opportunity, I guess, and rare learning opportunity. Go through. It's another one that was one of our grassland burns, one of the smoke columns. Keep going. And then when we weren't, same one there. Next photo. And then one more. So I wanted to include a few live fire photos. So this is some of the engine training. We were trained on different types of engines, anywhere from maintenance to operations, hand signals, what the standard is within, especially wildfire context, federal wildfire context. Keep going. And then when we weren't burning, there were classroom sessions that covered anything from burn plan writing to fire ecology, smoke management. And so I'd say it was about a 50-50 split between over the 12 days between classroom work and live fire. So it was a really good balance there, and just absorbed a lot of knowledge throughout all that. And then the last photo here is that's a oak savanna that we visited. So we took, when we weren't able to burn, we took a few field trips and heard from some prescribed fire managers from the Michigan DNR. One of them was out in the Allegan State Game area, and they just sort of talked about fire ecology and different strategies they're using to manage different types of areas. This was one of the oak savannas that was just filled with lupin for about 30 or 40 acres. So that was my favorite spot I've visited.
That's beautiful.
And with that, I mean, I'll take any questions.
Can
I
you
don't wanna-
share with commissioners why prescribed burns are important and what role they fill, or like why even do them?
Yes, many of our natural communities, especially any grassland communities, depend on periodic fire. Those natural, excuse me, those natural communities evolved with fire, and they're there because prescribed fire maintain those. And so without that constant disturbance to reset those natural communities, essentially everything would transition into forest. So prescribed burning, there's all sorts of research on increasing species diversity. If you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I mean, especially if anyone is familiar with a handful of our parks that we tend to burn at, like Robinson, for instance. We started burning there because we found remnant prairie species that made us feel like it could be restored to kind of a savanna. But within the context of the parks in particular, we wanted Tyler's training because partly because of his experience in the past and trainings that he has done in the past. He's has a lot of fire experience. So what we're hoping to do is add a lot more burns because it is such a great management tool. So we can do smaller burns, having to contract it out. Because obviously contracting it out is a lot more expensive, but it's also a lot more do like burn 2 acres at Stearns Creek North, where like woodies are starting to come in, and there's lupin there. Nothing like, there's like a half acre of lupin instead of 40 acres of it. But we want to take advantage of those opportunities as much as we can. So sending Tyler to this Trex gave him the experience and some of the qualifications that make it more possible for us to do that. So we're starting like a burn wish list, and Tyler pretty much wants to burn all the parks. So.
I vote for the honeysuckle, but that's just.
Anybody else?
Would that include red pine areas that are problem areas, or not so much in the woods, more grassland kinds of things?
More grassland. We do, there are some areas that we burn that have a pine component, but we don't necessarily expect those things to burn.
Right.
Sometimes they do a little bit. Like Hiawatha Forest, for example. We're burning at Hiawatha this fall or this summer/fall, depending on when the date falls, with a contractor. And it will kill some of the small pines, but typically prescribed fire is, pretty relatively low intensity, and really the goal is not to become a crown fire. It's
Right.
it should just be a fire
Right.
that kind of moves across the ground.
Right.
So.
Thanks.
How often do you have to, so if you were to do this on a scheduled basis, what is the best frequency? Like how often do you go back to the same place?
It depends.
Yeah. it
Yeah,
depends.
I'd say different natural communities have a sort of agreed upon interval, fire return interval. Grasslands are typically about 3 years, but a lot of researchers too recommend to not only mix up your burn timing, so spring versus fall, but also, excuse me, mixing up how much time is in between burns. So maybe you burn 2 years in a row and then you wait 5 years, but on average you want to hit, grassland would be about 3 years, something like an oak savanna would be closer to 8 to 10 years. So there are some agreed upon values, but it's good to mix up that interval too.
And then how do you evaluate whether or not you felt a burn was successful for what's the fruit, I guess?
I think, again, it depends. But what I would say is, so Tyler's talking about burn plan writing. And if you've ever read like a long burn or like a full burn plan, they can be pretty detailed and pretty long. And so with each burn plan, you have specific goals for each site and each specific fire. So like one of the goals at Hiawatha Forest is fuel reduction. So there's a lot of pine duff there. There's a lot of dead trees that have been killed by past fires. So fuel reduction is a goal there. So yeah, it really depends. So usually there's a goal like we want 50% black in a mosaic, formation. So you just want to reach the goals that you set.
Thank you.
And
but
most
like
of
a
the time
grassland
it-
fire,
oh,
you want to
go ahead.
burn the whole unit, right?
Yeah, but most of the time it's like a healthy, natural community that you're managing. Like if, there's reasons to burn it and what would help promote the health of this natural community.
Yeah,
so.
for instance, so if for anyone that's familiar with the restored grassland at Hemlock Crossing, so we haven't burned there since 2019, which is a pretty long interval. And you can tell when you go there, it's really dominated by grasses right now, especially big blue stem. There's not a lot of forbs. So in many years that there's a pretty good balance between forbs and grasses, but because it's been so long since we've burned, those grasses really start to take over.
Has climate change changed the science behind prescribed burns? Is it, has anything changed because of, the climate becoming warmer and probably in our case drier?
Yeah, last spring at least, there was a statewide ban on
yeah.
prescribed burning
That's why we didn't
during,
burn at Hiawatha.
with all the wildfire smoke that was
Yeah.
coming out of Canada. And because at least for Canada, that was their both hottest and driest year on record since they started officially recording weather. And so the DNR issued a statewide no ban. So harder operationally. And then, I mean, I think we've observed a lot of unexpected species. Some things are flowering a month earlier
Yeah.
than they typically do. And so some of the phenology is a bit different now too. So definitely noticing some changes.
Probably another reason to, have some staff expertise and training to kind of keep up with all those changes. Yeah.
Anyone else? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I just want to commend you for your getting involved in the training and building that knowledge base here, and for sharing what you experienced and what you did out there. So thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a great training, and there's another one September of 2025 in northern Michigan this time. So we'll see, but potentially another one down the road too.
All right. Very cool. Thanks, Tyler. Neely, did you have anything else to add?
I don't think so. I guess with Ottawa Sands, that has been on the top of the list for a couple of years now, and I'm getting to the point where I don't have a lot to report. So we're actually really excited about that. Most of the restoration work is done. We have a little more planting yet to do, but yay, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
If you're okay, I was just going to throw in one quick thing about the Friends of Ottawa County Parks. They actually have right now a donation matching campaign. Since their Friends report is under Neely's, I thought I'd throw this in here because Jess had shared this with me too, that, to replenish the Statema Stewardship Fund, they help support school groups coming out and we're place-based education and that kind of thing. Right now there is a donation matching campaign to replenish that. So someone at Friends is matching the contributions through October 15th, and then their employer is matching it again. So it's actually tripling the donations that are coming in right now. So if anyone, I'm going to just maybe forward the email to commissioners after this meeting, just so you know where if you'd like to make a donation, where you can send those. But it's a great opportunity to triple your donation,
Yeah,
I guess, right
absolutely.
now. So
Thank you for sharing that, Kelly.
yeah, absolutely. But it's a great program and a great support that Friends does. So I want to give them a shout out for that too. That's really impressive. So if we can keep that fund replenished, that would be fantastic. So, all right, we will move on to committee reports. The executive committee, we met August 13th, went over the agenda items, the strategic plan, future recognition for parks contributors. That's kind of a discussion that's going on in the background. Foundation coordination, and talked a little bit about the Ottawa Sands tour that was held. I know some of us were able to attend that. So last week, that was really productive and helpful for answering questions. And then planning committee, Lucas, I know you weren't at that, but do you want it, or do you want me to take it?
Yeah, give it a shot. You
Lucas
guys know
wasn't
what
there,
I
but he
know.
can tell us about it.
But I mean, the Lakeshore Drive road crossing, conversation
Mhm.
sounded interesting, and I know those mid-block crossings that
Mhm.
you're looking at, and the danger that those entail, and how so that looked like an interesting conversation.
It was.
Yeah.
Paul, you want to add anything? You were there from the meeting and
Yep, that was a
specifically?
good conversation. I think the other part of our discussion, we spent a lot of time looking at the data
Mhm.
that's included in the appendix of the strategic plan, which we might touch on a little bit later, but that was very interesting.
Thanks to Paul's team for helping get it in that final form. Joe and Stephanie had a lot of great thoughts based on.
Good.
Any questions on the planning committee report? All right, we'll just keep moving then. Community engagement committee, Jane?
Yeah, so you have the agenda that we looked at or that we worked off from. And a good portion of the meeting was with Marcy Cisneros, who's from the Grand Haven Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. She gave us a lot of great information on the benefit of teaming up with the Visitors Bureau in terms of Ottawa Sands and campground, the campground, or the yurts and tree houses, marketing and spreading information about that, beyond our own local area. So that was a really, really interesting presentation, and I learned a lot about what a visitors bureau does. And so there's some real benefits for us to participate with that. We touched on the Ottawa Sands, the open house and the dedication. So I know there, something we did not talk about, but that I discovered later is the foundation's annual meeting is going to be on October 9, which was one of the dates we were looking at. So anyway, but we did talk about some ideas for the open house and the dedication, kind of the two-part thing. So that's going to be a really nice event. Very exciting when that happens. Jess updated us with some of the fiscal year 25 goals that we have that will establish for marketing, involve the park's website, which will hopefully improve its functionality and sort of a branding identity possibilities. So, and we'll get more info on that later. Newsletter distribution costs, how to better allocate some of those funds. And then a real quick update on the virtual programming that has been in the works for quite a while. And there's a little hiccup with our previous vendor. So, but we're moving forward with that. So that was kind of our meeting. If you have any questions, I can try and answer them, or Jess can.
Must have done a good job. No questions.
Okay.
All right, you want to roll right into the foundation update?
Yeah,
Jane?
really, I mentioned just a minute ago that foundation annual meeting will be October 9, 4:30. I think it's 4:30. You're all invited, and there'll be a more detailed invitation coming. And we do have one foundation board member who is will be term limited. Pete Esser will be stepping off the foundation board. And so there's a couple of very good candidates in the pipeline to bring on board. And that decision will be made by the foundation, probably at its next meeting. So got some good candidates coming up. That's it.
That was October 9th, you said?
October
Is the-
9.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
I think it's a Thursday.
Great. Any questions for Jane? All right, we will keep going. Start of old business. We only have one item on old business, so that's the DNR Bass River Phase 1 grant funding. Executive committee did talk about this. This is only a time extension. That's it. So it's just extending the
Right.
grant from, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, so we could take a suggested motion. I might recommend that instead of the word to, like to approve and authorize staff to execute the amendment, extending the memorandum of understanding and agreement, just maybe so that it's just a little more clear that this is just an extension of time.
Where do you want to, where would you insert?
Like the
that?
second word or the
Second.
third two. There's,
To execute instead of execute, to extend.
To extend the.
well, yeah, I was
Oh,
to
execute
execute
the
the amendment,
amendment.
extending the memorandum of understanding
That
and
works.
agreement, or whatever, something to that effect.
And the memorandum of understanding, is that how we want for that?
Otherwise, it does explain it in the summary.
It does.
Right.
Is needed to extend the grant through September 30.
Yeah, I just thought it would help if that verbiage was in the actual motion.
Why don't you read the motion the way you'd like to? See
Okay,
it
it really is
offered?
only the first line of the motion, so it would say to approve and authorize staff to execute the amendment extending the memorandum of understanding and agreement with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources.
Or you could just add extend between two and the.
To
the
extend.
memorandum of understanding.
Does the
Oh,
memorandum?
yeah, okay, that works too,
Does the
right?
memorandum of understanding change though due to the change of the date? Does that make, do you know what I'm saying?
It doesn't, it just,
No, the MOU stays the same, but the
and it's
amendment,
done.
the amendment specifies the grant extension date.
I just wanted to make sure that by adding the word extension in there, it won't change the meaning behind it. That's all.
Well, I wonder if it's necessary if the amendment is has the dates in it, right?
Correct.
Okay, the MOU.
Unless
So
I'm the only
what
one that
we're-
thinks
what
that.
we're
and if everybody else is clear, we'll just leave it the way it is.
What we're approving is the amendment.
Right.
And so the amendment.
All right, that's fair
defines.
enough.
So
Okay.
I would offer the motion, I think, as
Okay.
it's written in the agenda here.
Support.
Somebody was fast. Sounds good. Any questions on the extension? Or amendment? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries.
Who seconded it?
Oh, sorry, it's Jane and Roger.
Okay.
Sorry, Kyle, thanks for asking.
I didn't hear Jane, I just heard Roger.
Gotcha. All right, motion carries. And then we have, oh, yeah, we do have the second, 10B is the strategic plan. So it sounds like maybe we have, Jason has a little bit of a presentation.
Well, we
And
have
then-
a quick PowerPoint, and then Jason with Crow. We invited him here today as well to answer any questions about the process. So I just take this opportunity as Jessica's kind of bringing up the presentation to thank all of the residents who participated in the surveys, the stakeholders, staff who participated in surveys and engagement sessions, Parks Commission. But then our senior leadership team in particular, there were, probably hundreds of hours of staff time that went into this. It's really exciting to have a plan that I think positions us to look to the future and where we're going and then build from. So, many hands went into that work. So, but as we've talked about the process we had, I think it's almost 6,000 if you want to, I don't know the best way to click through, let you know. Thousands of folks participate in the survey work. So, and it's building on multiple plans in the past. So this is really building on the foundation that's already there. So go ahead and click to your next. So, the online surveys, the stakeholder engagement sessions, the benefits analysis, scientific polling, as well as really leaning on that visitation data that really gave us good, accurate data on our visitations, as well as the previous plans that I had mentioned. So the key takeaways, really those key highlights, and that's what, as we were going through this, and one of the questions that always pops out to me, somebody asked me, were there any surprises? And I think the biggest surprise was how overwhelmingly everybody really responded positively, and we're very happy with the park system that we have. So programs and parks should be accessible to all. And then continue to protect additional land, help develop additional trails, look at a regional-wide trail system and amenities, additional stewardship services, as well as engagement services, and tying in the positive economic impacts to the community. So we focused on the mission, vision, values, initiatives, and projects. So we'll just hit the mission and the vision. To enhance the well-being of the stewardship by stewarding a connected system of natural communities and promoting outdoor experiences. And then the vision, which I think a lot of staff are already using, to be a leader in creating a legacy of expansive, accessible, and biodiverse natural communities for all to enjoy. And Jessica, if you want to move it forward. So we'll work on putting together some graphics that we'll distribute to all the parks commissioners. We ask that all of you be some of our champions as parks commissioners moving forward. So we'll work on refining a presentation to use for the public, but then also just some real simple information that you all will have as a reference point. So, but the main key initiatives, so connectivity, connecting people with our parks and our greenways, community engagement, so teaching people about those parks and greenways, and then conservation, so respect, protection, and enhancement of our diverse natural communities, organizational quality. I think that one, we always get kind of caught on, what do we call it? But it's just investing in the organization, making sure we have great parks, good amenities that are meeting the needs of the community. That includes our staff. And then continue with strategic land acquisition and protection. So implementation, senior leadership's already been working on implementation plan. So you all are some of our first champions. Our coordinators will also be champions of the implementation. So working on the timeline for the 2026 Parks and Recreation Open Space Plan that then will lead into our millage renewal campaign. And then we'll work with each of our divisions, operations, natural resources, community engagement, to develop similar plans that feed straight from the strategic plan, focusing on the various projects that we've identified. So the goal will be to roll out to staff, support organizations, stakeholders. We'll present it to the Board of Commissioners and have that done by end of October 24. And then reviewing current and future realignment, discussing that with the Parks Commission by the end of October 24 as well. So go ahead and move forward. Is that the last? So any questions or comments or feedback? I guess there is a motion too. So
I'd like to offer the motion to accept the plan or approve it, to approve the plan.
Great, thanks, Jane. Do we have
As
support?
Support.
Okay, thanks, Allison. All right, questions for Jason or Jason? And the audience?
Pop in, Jason.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
And we're really
Nice,
lucky to
yeah.
have him here as a resident. So
Yeah, fabulous. Good deal. All right. Well, it's not a new plan that we've all seen it quite a few times over the past few months. So I guess if there's no further questions, comments, we'll just go ahead and put it to a vote then. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. All right, motion is approved. I should say the strategic plan is approved and accepted. All right. Yeah, thank you for coming. Thanks to Crow for all your work and engagement and letting us go on and on with comments. So, all right, we'll just keep going then with new business, and that will be 11A. I think since this is a new item that none of the committees have really discussed in detail, we're just going to go ahead and get a report from staff on what's being proposed before we ask for a motion, just so we have all the information in front of us.
All
that
right,
you,
well,
Jason?
yep, that's
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
So our seasonal slip prices for the slip rentals and mooring rentals at the Ottawa Beach Marina were set before we opened the marina, and we haven't adjusted those prices since then. Since then, the transient or daily rentals have gone up a couple times because those rates are set by the state. And we just, as long as we stick with the same schedule, as they increase whatever the prices for that schedule, those rates increase. But also in that same amount of time, our seasonal staff wages have gone up by over 30%. And so our cost to operate the marina have gone up. So we decided to take a look at the rates we were charging and see where they compared to our neighbors on Lake Macatawa, the other marinas on Lake Macatawa, and found that ours were quite a bit below theirs, and all of them had said that they were also planning another increase for next year. And they typically do, most of them typically do an increase every year of some sort. So what we did was looked at our current rates, looked at how much of an increase we could do without going over any of the other marinas on the lake. We still want to be the cheapest marina on the lake, not because we're trying to outcompete them, but because we provide less services than they do. We don't have a swimming pool. We don't have a lot of the things that they do. So we shouldn't be more expensive than any of them because we don't provide as much as they do. And then also with switching to Rec Track for all of our reservations for the seasonals. Before it was all done very manually, paper contracts emailed out, checks walked in the front door, that kind of stuff. We're now doing this all through our new reservation system. And in doing that, it makes it much more convenient for us to accept those payments on credit card rather than having people bring stuff in, a check or mail a check or something like that. So in order to encourage people to do that, we wanted to also eliminate the 3.5% credit card fee that we were charging people if they paid by credit card. That does put us in line with all the rest of our rentals and fee collections. We don't charge the credit card fee other places. The only reason we'd originally done it here was just because it was a significant amount of money. 3.5% on a $4,000 payment is nothing to sneeze at. But with this 10% increase, we'll cover that cost and some of the other additional costs we have. So that's how we arrived at that.
You mind if we ask questions, or did you want the motion?
I think we should get a motion
Okay.
first and then have some questions, so.
I would move to support the 10% increase.
Okay. Do we have a support of the motion that's proposed?
Support.
Okay, thanks, Jane. All right, yeah, do you want to
Yeah,
ask some
so
questions?
is there a reason why we haven't increased the price in, this will be 6 years?
No,
No.
I mean, we've continued to, the prices are not going up a lot. I mean, so the other marinas are increasing it every year. They're changing it every year. It's by a very small amount and not enough that it was really worth our trouble to, add an extra, $75 this year, or, another $25 or another, it seemed very tedious to make those adjustments for such a small amount of, additional income. So we'd rather, do it not every year, but just every few years. And so I think, at this point at 5 years, it seems appropriate that we adjust.
Does Rec Track make it easier, maybe in the future, to
It-
do
it
those little
would.
incremental increases?
It would, yeah.
Okay.
Does the better budget tracking now too allow you to see more clearly what, is targeted right specifically at the marina too, that you can see like, oh, okay, this is.
And we were already doing marina expenses separately, but yes, the way we're doing it now with the with all the different cost centers will be helpful, here and at other places as well. But the marina already
Sure.
had separate funds,
Mhm.
separate
Okay.
than the other lakeshore funds.
What's your anticipated feedback from those who currently use the marina?
Nobody will care. We surveyed the current slip owners last year about some improvements, and their sentiment was, they don't care if we raise the rates, if we can, do some improvements, things like that. So I think that it was very much time. I think that they all kind of feel like they're getting a heck of a deal, and they're still going to think. I mean, they're still going to be $500 less than any place else on Lake Mac, even with our increased prices.
What types of, are you talking about improvements related to the credit card, or are there other improvements?
There is a specific improvement that a couple of the slip owners have asked for that we haven't decided 100% that we're doing yet, but that was a security gate on slip A, or on dock A, which is where all the seasonal renters are, which would be a gate that you have to have a code to get through to get out onto the dock.
Are quite a few of the seasonal slips, the same people reserve them every year?
Yes.
So they would, I mean, you said you surveyed a lot of the folks who would be paying the higher fees next year already know about them? Or you've surveyed them about this issue?
No, not specifically about this. We surveyed them actually about the
The
gate
improvements?
and
Okay,
and they all said they'd be willing to pay a higher amount.
okay.
If that were to happen. I don't know that, I mean, this is definitely not directly tied to that by any means.
Right.
So, I mean, that's not a promise or anything like that.
Mhm.
But no, the renters are going to be all but one or two, probably the same renters as
Mhm.
last year.
Okay.
I do have a question. I understand the kind of the pain to go ahead and do that every year. But if we do this now, do you think that our renters will not expect another increase for 5 more years if we haven't done it except every 5 years? And I wonder if, my first question would be, what was our revenue loss for 5 years of not increasing? But we didn't do it, so that's kind of here nor there. But if, when you rent a car, when you rent a house, you rent something, you kind of expect, at least I always did, an annual increase or whenever the lease came due the next time for it to go up. Is that a plan to do that, to stick with at least the cost of living or cost of operations? In your case, our case, it's human resources fees, basically.
It's not been our practice to increase our rates for the various things we charge for on an annual basis. Our facilities don't go up every year. Our motor vehicle permits don't go up every year. And, therefore our marina slips didn't go up every year. It's just not been a long-term practice. It's definitely something that we could reconsider if finance committee wants to discuss that, and it's something we want to reconsider, to do maybe incremental or smaller changes more often. It's just in the past not been our practice, but not to say that it couldn't be moving forward.
Could I ask a question about occupancy? Is that any different now this year than it has been in 2019 when?
The seasonal slips have been full since we built them.
Okay.
Yeah, we've never had an empty slip. The transient slips, there's a lot more of those, and obviously they're in and out every day. The weekends are a lot busier than the weekdays. We have a lot of weekdays with a lot of empty slips. But that's a whole different story.
Thanks.
Yep.
So I'm trying to think about how to best word this. When you're looking at the money coming in, right, and the money going out, are we making even? Are we breaking even? Are we behind?
No. We, even with our increased staffing costs, the marina still operates very much in the black, with enough left over to set aside for future maintenance and improvement projects. So this will increase the amount we're able to set aside for future maintenance and improvement projects, than what we've had over the past couple of years. But we've not ever had the marina costs exceed the marina revenue.
I guess my question then would be, why are we seeking to have extra funds? Is there something in the plans for the future that you're hoping that this will bring in more money to help fund?
No, it's definitely not even about that. It's really just sticking with the market. It would be, we want to be appropriately priced. If we're priced too low, then it's seen as unfair competition to our private partners, because we're priced too low then, and then we're sort of out competing them. We want to be priced appropriately for the amenities we provide.
I would think too that, as the marina ages, it's still a fairly new facility, but as it ages, the need for those, maintenance and improvements will also increase. So I guess I don't have a big problem increasing that buffer a little bit, that contingency fund. And I do appreciate the point you made about, we don't want to be seen as unfair competition to the private sector.
I guess I'm wondering if we could have an adjusted motion and just something to think about, instead of having a high 10% increase, why can't we simply start doing a little bit of the cost that we have, what was the word called earlier? Just the normal expenses that we have in society. Why wouldn't we just start that at this point, but with a smaller percentage? And that way we're not adding on a huge, because it doesn't sound like it's a need for us. So I would propose a smaller increase and then continuing that conversation in finance. That's just something, food for thought for, I guess, for this group. I'm just throwing out some ideas at the moment. So.
Well, and
That's
the
right.
increase, as you see it, I mean, we're talking from 3,000 to up to 3,300, or from 4,000 up to 4,400. So I think for most of our slip rentals, that will be seen as a very minimal increase.
I guess my question is there a reason this didn't come to finance first for discussion? Does it have to happen right now? Is there a reason for that?
So there is a timeliness, so that way we can send it out to the slip holders. So stay on schedule for that. A couple things with the marina. The goal was that it similar goals, it do better than offset operating costs, as well as setting aside some funding for future renovations and maintenance. Kurt, remind me how much the total construction cost was of the marina?
Somewhere $2.5 million, something like that.
So this year we noted, and it's in the memo that went to the Parks Commission, we had 148,490 net funds that would be pulled out. So those are the funds that are above and beyond operating costs that we're allocating for future renovations or maintenance items. So.
Can you just tell us again, like in the agreement that the marina renters sign, it goes through what? The end of September? Or like when do they have to? I don't, or
When do they have to be out?
Well, yeah, or like when do we have to have this decided by? Like what's the typical
Today.
sending the notice?
I mean, we would have been a month ago. We're a little behind. So if it's not improved today, then we would want to wait till next year to make a change. If a change is not approved today, whether it be a smaller change or this proposed change or no change at all, if it's not decided today, I think it would be best just to keep it the way it was for this year, and then look at a change for 26.
Why would that be?
Because of the timing of getting, we have a 3-step process for getting payments in. Our WAMPA members who, through the legal agreement, have first priority of slips, they put a deposit down first, and then if there's continues to be slips left over after that, Then we get a deposit from existing renters that are there if they want to come back for next year. And then after we have both those deposits, then if there's still slips left over, then we have a lottery of the applicants left to fill the remaining slips. And all of that takes time because there's got to be gaps in between to make the payments and all that. And starting this month right now, going through, that takes us through December 31st for the last full payment to be due. And if we don't have that done, I think by the end of the year, then we risk losing those renters because they're going to go to other marinas if they can't be guaranteed a slip ours by the end of the year, at our place by the end of the year. Because that's the market. Everybody wants their slip guaranteed for the next year before the end of the year.
So I have, I'm not a boater, so this is strictly on a financial side for me. I am a bit bothered that we're trying to decide this as a group without it having gone through the finance committee. Second thing is, though, if you look at this, it's be about a 2% increase per year for over the 5 years. We're just going to try to get 2% all at one time, 2% times 5. That doesn't thrill me either, but I'm not opposed to your numbers. I just think, and I get that we don't want to undercut private marinas. I'm a little bothered by being hurried, and that's an unusual statement for me to make. I'm usually like, let's just go. But I would support this with the understanding that next year with the finance committee, we would have a more thorough look at this earlier on, so we would know what everybody else is doing and what makes sense for us, if it's anything. That's just those are my 2 cents.
I'll throw one other thing out there. The most important thing for us is really dealing with the credit card fee and having it work within our new system. So if you guys were wanting to consider just doing a 3.5% increase and getting rid of the 3.5% fee for this year, and then maybe vetting this a little better before the 26 boating season, that would achieve our immediate need.
That's a reasonable
In
solution.
support of, I would be in support of that.
Yeah.
Well, and I would think, more broadly speaking, it's something we might want to think about for all of our fees and reservations. If our new budgeting system and the rec track system makes it easier to sort of analyze where we are with costs and operational costs and all that stuff, I would think we'd want to do kind of the same thing with other rental facilities, and especially now with the campground too. So moving forward, we might want to do a little bit more, or kind of do that process annually or biannually at least. So
I would make offer an amended motion.
Yeah.
To approve a 3.5% increase in pricing for the seasonal slips by 10%. That would cover the fees.
Yes, so to approve the 3.5% increase and to eliminate the 3.5% fee.
That makes, that's still.
I would second that motion.
Okay. Okay, Bruce and Jane, are you okay if we just delete your first?
Yes, ma'am.
motions?
or do we just vote on the motion to amend?
Correct. Oh, and then
We
go
could
back
do
and
that.
vote on the first one?
I think isn't that the normal?
Yeah.
But
we
proceed
should-
that way.
But yeah, then we can do that. That's fine.
I mean, I think since it's involving money and finances, I'd like to vote on the motion to amend and then vote on the.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we are voting on the amended motion, which is a 3.5% increase in pricing and eliminate the 3.5% additional fee. So the motion would still read the same as it does on the motion sheet, except where it says 10%, it will say 3.5%. Am I capturing, Linda, what
Yes,
you?
but I think that's
think we need to vote on
On two-
on the motion to amend and then vote again to.
On what the, so we're gonna vote,
approve it.
so the vote would be,
We're okay with
are
amending.
you okay with
Oh, I see
amending?
what you're saying. Okay, all right, yeah. Okay. So first we are voting on the amendment, to amend.
To amend.
Yes,
amend.
correct.
So you had a first and a second on that.
Yes. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, motion to amend is approved. And now
On the.
we are
now-
going back and voting on the revised
Right,
motion.
yeah.
So I heard two revisions. One was just changing the 3.5% from 10%. The other one was eliminating a little bit of the,
So
verbiage.
upgrade to 3.5,
Yeah.
delete the 3.5. That's the motion.
to approve a 3.5%.
3.5% increase and
To
delete
eliminate.
the credit card fee.
Okay, so we're gonna eliminate, there's a little bit of verbiage between those two. We're just gonna take out.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Well,
No.
It's the same,
it's
you just,
just, yeah, it's the same, just change the 10 to 3.5%.
3.5.
Right.
Okay, That's why,
Sorry,
that's why I was wondering. Okay, thank you.
Got it. I'm not sure I.
yeah, we're good.
Got it. Okay, we are voting on approving the 3.5% increase in pricing and eliminating the 3.5% additional fee. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries.
Good.
All right, thanks for working through that, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, 11B is the Kirk Park budget adjustment. Kurt, you, since this is relatively new also, can you give us a report before we take a motion
Sure.
on what we're talking about here?
So we put a summary in there and Kyle even made me modify it to make it not sound so bad. But it comes down to, I made a slight error when I was allocating funds to this project. We were getting from two different funds. One was the capital project fund, which most of it came out of, but we decided to do some renovations included with that project. So I was taking some renovation funds. When the final accounting came forward, I hadn't taken enough out of the renovation fund to put into the project. So this is, now that it's at this point, we need to make a formal request to move those funds. And so that's what this is. We're moving it from renovation budget that we have. There's plenty of money in that, moving it to the project fund that will cover all our expenses and we'll close this project out.
So we're just moving money.
We're just moving money.
Okay.
So yeah, if I would have done it before you wouldn't have had to vote on it, it would have been fine. But
Okay,
at this point, we need to vote on it.
sounds good. So do we have a suggested, someone to make the suggested motion?
So moved.
All right, thanks. Linda.
Second.
Thanks, Roger. Okay, any further questions, comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. Thanks, Kurt, for bringing that up. All right, we move to our second public comment period. And we got David, would you like to come up and speak? Yes, no.
Comes out of the spreadsheet in his desk drawer.
You're set? Okay, thank you. All right. Commissioner's prerogative. We'll go around the room. Start with Allison.
Just a thank you to Tyler again for coming today and really appreciate that. It was good learning on, I think, probably a lot of our part. I know I learned. I don't think I have anything else today.
Okay, Jim? Jane?
Nothing.
Okay, I'll just go a real quick note that I will not be here for the September commission meeting. So if anyone has any communication between now and then regarding September, please send it to Jane and Jason. That would be great. So Linda?
Nope, I'm good.
Lucas?
I'd just like to thank staff for a great tour of Ottawa Sands last week. It was, it's like no place I've ever been before. So.
Take it, by all means, if you're interested in getting a chance to get out there and you're in the neighborhood, let one of us know. So there's several of us who live pretty close and don't mind ending or starting our day there. So, yeah.
Great. Paul?
Yeah, I'd like to mention that a few weeks ago, my oldest daughter and I did the tour, the kayak tour of the Pigeon River. Ended up
Oh,
winning
nice.
that through a raffle for the Parks Foundation. And the tour guides were awesome. They were great. You're volunteers, and we had a lot of fun with it. There's probably a group of 8 of us that went down Pigeon River and headed out towards Pigeon Lake. And I've always wanted to meander on that stretch of water. It's finally got to do it. We had a blast. The staff was great. It's organized really well. It's a lot of fun. The guides were incredibly knowledgeable about a variety of the ecology and the birding and the lake. So it was really cool. So
Nice. Good deal. Bruce?
I'd just like to say, appreciate Jason being here from Crow, but, and following through the big project, but especially our, one or both of our Jasons in the Parks Department of all the, like you say, hundreds of hours in addition. And Jessica and others. Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, and like you said, the preparation for the upcoming millage, the footwork is done and it looks very good. And there's great photos and encourage people to read through the details. So yeah, appreciate all your hard work, and I can't even imagine because there's a lot of it. I know.
Roger?
I apologize for being tardy. I was at a West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Committee, West Plan Policy Board. And one of the things they talked about today was the West Michigan Regional Trails Master Plan. And our very own Aaron Boppel-Mast has a big part of this organization's work. So it was just nice to kind of see how Ottawa County fits into this 18 county, sort of regional master plan. And I think that Ottawa County of all those 18 is the best as far as the experience when you're out there and seeing nature and the thoughtfulness of all the work that goes into our infrastructure. So again, sorry for being late.
Yep. No, thank you. All right. So we don't have a closed session packet, but we will need a motion to move into closed session, and we will shut down our live stream.
The one thing,
Oh, sorry.
would-
Not yet.
no, I would be completely remiss. So Aaron helped us with both. We identified him as a project manager, both for our rec track implementation, but then also he took the lead on helping making sure we were on task with our strategic plan. So kudos to Aaron for keeping us moving it forward, and thank you.
The rest of us would have been lost in that project without Aaron.
Excellent. Good shout out. All right, now we will shut off the live stream. And can we have a motion to move into closed session?
So moved.
All right, do we have support?